Okay, so here's just a brief video here, guys. I thought I would maybe point out something that's really quite important on your scope, but it gets overlooked, certainly by me on a regular basis, but it can catch you out if you're not careful. It's a subtle setting, but it's one that, as I said, it will catch you out if you're not aware of it. So I'm just giving you a moment to look at the screen here and what I've actually got for settings, guys. It's in pause mode at the moment, so the trace is not active, but I've got a trigger set here for just, I think it's just under, in fact I can tell you what it is. Let me set it up so you can see the trigger. Okay, it's 3.2 volts is what I've got it actually set for. So that's my trigger setting on the Modus. Again, it's not inactive, it's just paused at the moment. And to make the point, I've actually got my H-scope set up here. It's active, so there's the settings. The voltage and the time base doesn't really matter, guys, right? Again, let me just show you what I've got set here. I've got my power supply. What I'm going to do is actually slow the voltage up and down, and keep an eye on the two different displays, and hopefully you'll get my point with this video. The current on the bottom here, guys, doesn't matter because there's no load. It's just going to the two scopes, right? It's just the voltage supplied to the two scopes. Okay, so let me actually put this, as I said, it's in pause mode. Let me get it running. The trigger is in normal. I think it's in the triggers. I don't know the trigger setting. I didn't bother with the trigger settings on the H-scope there. I think it's in auto. So I'm just going to scroll the displays up here. Hopefully you can see the traces moving. So keep an eye on the two different scopes, guys. There's nothing wrong with either scope, okay? I'll tell you that off the hop. So you tell me what the difference is. I'm just scrolling up the voltage here. Oh, let me take my hand away so you can actually see it. That might help. So we're well past the trigger point there on the Modus, which was for 3.2 volts, and yet there's nothing. How come? I won't speak for everybody, but it's certainly, for the most part, I won't call it disregarded, but underappreciated setting is the trigger slope setting. The icon is right here on the Modus, right? So the trigger slope becomes very important in a scenario like this, when the what you're doing is telling the scope, in this case it is a falling slope or descending slope, whatever the terminology for your scope happens to be. You're telling the scope that don't start drawing the trace until the voltage not only crosses that threshold for the trigger, but crosses it in a descending direction in the case of my demonstration. When I crawled up and then was even varying the voltage up and down, yes, it's going down. It is a descending voltage, but it never descended beyond the trigger threshold. So it has to cross that trigger in a descending, because I've got it in the falling slope setting, in order for it to display. So let me just demonstrate that now. The trigger again is 3.2 volts there, guys. So again, keep an eye on the voltage here. You can see it. And once I go beyond the trigger setting, again on the right slope, you can see it is clearly drawn there, right? And it's captured on the, because I've got the trigger in normal, it's going to hold it there now, basically as a one-shot type arrangement, because I'm no longer varying the voltage. If I crossed it again in a descending or falling slope for the trigger, it would redraw the trace, but we'll hold that for now. So again, it can screw you up, right? Because watch, I'll continue to vary the voltage, and yet, sorry, let me zoom out here so you can see both scopes, and yet there's no change on the Modus. So you could have a dynamic signal that you're completely unaware of. Sorry guys, my bad there, smacked the camera. That you're completely unaware of if you don't fully appreciate the trigger settings. It's really quite important. And when you first get into scopes, I'm no veteran in scopes, that's for sure. I've got, you know, a year or two into it and learning some of the subtleties of the setup and settings, that it's quite important. Don't disregard that. That's quite an important setting there. Right, hopefully that made some sense, guys. Hopefully I got my point across. That's it.